Hello all and welcome to another Hang Loose Recluse production. I just wanted to show you this news clip here. Now I can't understand why Channel 7 would go out of their way, which is mainstream media here in Australia, Perth, and tell you this story, because why couldn't they have respect for these people? Like, the reason I say that is because they're gaslighting here by showing this story. Listen.
On this land.
It was an uncomfortable moment for the minister caught up in a turf war among First Nations people.
I don't need permission of you or anybody else. Neither do I. This is my country too.
A traditional smoking ceremony.
It was a bit of a circus.
After competing Aboriginal groups fired up at each other.
I thought you fellas was from Mora. Well, you thought wrong. No.
Well, yes, you did. You thought wrong. You just think, guys, now, with that story there, what I'm going to say is, when it came down to a rally in Perth, when people were saying no to a certain thing that people had to go and get to keep their jobs, and people were saying no, there were massive rallies. Now, Channel 7 was there. Yes, they did have news stories telling the rally, but they did it in gaslighting ways, just like they did then. With this article here in the background, it's definitely a gaslighting technique by Channel 7, because it's political at this stage. So it's political for them to have this because of the voice referendum, yes, no. And they're going to try and use stuff like this where we're not going to have the people in arguing, whatever, in-house arguing. Once it's there, they've got that's the final say. There's no interference, type thing. But the point that I'm trying to make there about the rallies and all that stuff they don't want to show you is when Perth was going nuts and you had when I say nuts, with the mandates Australia-wide, the mainstream media was not on the side of the people with the opposing view. So they had the narrative closed off, and the fact was they would go on and say, a few hundred people turned up and anti-vaxxers, anti-this, conspiracy theorists, whatever. But the point is they don't really tell the truth with those stories and don't show it and give it the time of day, which really it should be a big matter, and it should be asked within the mainstream media and looking deep down at what the hell was going on. But obviously they had their opinion, it was closed off, and their opinion was everybody should go and get jabbed. That's what it was. But they didn't give us the time of day, right? So on the air to give us the airtime for what it really is. But they just gave that little argument there airtime, and to me it looks like a gaslighting style of news article. That's all I'm trying to say here, guys. That comes across to me like a very gaslighting, typical mainstream media story. I don't know why it ends abruptly, but it does. But the point there is that it's just wrong that the mainstream media, go about the way they do their things. What was the point in showing that? Couldn't they have just not shown that? Because there's things that happen when the mainstream media have been at the rallies they never showed on the TV. They never showed any of the good speeches and all that stuff. It's always the negative stuff. And obviously they choose to omit stuff. Now, couldn't they have chosen to omit that fact from the thing because it's a dead set official ceremony? I mean, I know it's the news, but they made that as a political statement there, in-house type fighting amongst the different groups of people that were there to grant permission for the road to open in here in Western Australia. It just didn't make sense to me, but I thought I'd point that out, that it just seems bloody wrong that Channel 7 even ran that story. There's no reason why they couldn't have that's not part of why the story is opening the road. They didn't have to show that, but they did. And there's a reason for that. It's political. That's all I'm saying. Oh, shut up now and stop waffling. You've been watching another Hang Loose Recluse production. Now for the full news story now. Thank you.
Good evening. The opening of a freeway extension in our northern suburbs came to an abrupt halt when an argument broke out over who had the right to conduct the traditional smoking ceremony. The ribbon cutting on the $232 million project had to wait while traditional owners faced off.
But I don't need these people coming out here thinking that you fellas could say this, say that on this land.
It was an uncomfortable moment for the minister caught up in a turf war among First Nations people.
I don't need permission of you or anybody else. Neither do I. This is my country too.
A traditional smoking ceremony going up in smoke after competing Aboriginal groups fired up at each other.
I thought you fellas was from Mora. Well, you thought wrong. No.
Jeff Perry, 7 News.
Well, you thought wrong. No.
This was another Hang Loose Recluse production. Thank you.